Welcome back to Straight Facts with Henry Wright. Good morning, good bank holiday morning if you're in the UK to everybody. How are you, Henry? You all right, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. And just got us in a title race. That's what some of our fans are saying.
Mate, listen, you guys look nice. Some of the things I've seen from Spurs fans, even on our show, little Dan, we had Jacob from the States. They both did big claims from them where you've got the second best midfield in the league, and Maddison is already signing of the season. Where some signings haven't even kicked a ball yet. And I'm like, these Spurs fans are gassed.
Yeah, I don't know about second best midfield in the league. The midfield is good, though, the way it's playing, but it's not the second best midfield. It's Arsenal probably still, Kai Havertz, I'm not sure. But, it's not the second best. But where we're playing, mate, it's like, all these fans said, these players are useless. If Conte can't get, the juice out of the squeeze. We haven't changed a massive amount. Postecoglou sprinkled a bit of fairy dust, and all of a sudden we're playing it out from the back. Like Van der Ven's basically a carbon copy of Jan Vertonghen, right? Basuma this is a Basuma that could even get in Conte's side. So he hasn't changed a massive amount. Udogie was already at the club. He just went out on loan, and he's 7 points from our first 9. Probably should have beat Brentford. Most teams would take that playing United, Bournemouth away, and Brentford away.
Yeah. I think your start's been excellent, and I think that there's green shoots of hope. You can see the progression. You can see how the manager wants to play. I do feel there's a little bit of Spurs are one of these weird clubs where the media just the way I heard the commentators talking during your game on Saturday, early Saturday afternoon, it was like, oh my God, the transformation has been like amazing, and it has been. But no more so than I see with a lot of clubs that get new managers. But it gets talked up a lot with Tottenham fans. I think we've got our Tottenham back. I understand it. But you know what's coming when you start singing that. The club starts cutting corners. And that brings us into our first transfer story of the day. Harry Kane out. Brennan Johnson in for 50 million. And for me, I'm going to say this bluntly, that's not your Tottenham back. That is your Tottenham back. Cutting corners, spending too much money on another very average attacker, just like Richarlison. I mean, what is your take on this deal? Chelsea are in for him as well. That got played down by Fabrizio, but Chelsea's, there's a story this morning saying Chelsea are willing to spend up to 40 million on him. But the reports are you, man, are willing to spend 50 million pounds. That's crazy to me.
Mate, it's ridiculous. That'd be 110 million on Richarlison and Brennan Johnson. 50 million pounds. Yeah, he's 22 years of age, Welsh international. He's an okay player. But his best strength's through the middle, and the club have said, Ali Gold has said, we want a wide man, which tells me Brennan Johnson's going to be played out on that right. Son's not obviously going to get dropped, is he? Captain of the football club. And then you've got backup for him, you've got Perisic, and backup for Perisic, you've got Brian Hill. On the right, you've got Kulusevski and Solomon, and Richarlison's going to continue to play. So where's Brennan Johnson? We're not in 3 or 4. We're not in 4 competitions this season. We want to get the squad down to 17 or 18 players that we're continuously using, rotating. But Brennan Johnson for 50 million, he's probably in this market a 20 million pound player. No one should be paying any more than for 20 million. I mean, what's he done last year? I think he got 8 goals and 3 assists for Nottingham Forest. And we're apparently, Postecoglou, according to Romano's given the green light. It's another buzzword that we use nowadays. Mate, it's ridiculous. 50 million for Brennan Johnson. I'll be absolutely fuming. You've got Gift Orban at Ghent, 45 goals in 50 games, an absolute monster with a release clause of 26 million pounds, and we're about to go do more than double that when you include the add-ons. I think they're saying 56 million with add-ons. Ridiculous. What are the add-ons going to be if he scores a goal?
Mate, it's an interesting one. I mean, I've seen this is what's interesting. All fan bases do this, so this is not unique to Tottenham. But I've kind of seen the rhetoric already of, a list of stuff. I saw a tweet. I should have bookmarked it really, but it was a list of things that Spurs fans didn't like from the beginning of Postecoglou's reign, including employing him, certain signings, certain sales, and how everyone's been wrong so far. So therefore, I trust the deal for Johnson 100%. The manager knows what he's doing. The manager's cooking. I saw something that James Maddison said. By the way, Maddison started brilliantly, where he said this whole thing about if you're going to play for Postecoglou, everything's non-negotiable. And I'm just starting to see the buzzwords and the PR words.
Oh, of course.
that Spurs fans and Man United fans have ridiculed their clubs for using over the last few years. Sorry, have ridiculed Arsenal for using, and now they're using the same thing. And I think, look, this is where I actually tweeted someone this morning that I said that we'll get onto Man United later, but there's talk that Man United might not go for Amrabat now. And I said, we're finished if we don't do this. And this guy said, Terry, you can't say that. You were praising the ball not long ago. And I'm like, listen, bro, I've got a brain. I'm not simple of mind. When the ball do something good, I will praise it and I'll encourage more of that type of practice. But when they do poorly, I'll criticize it. The world's just too polarized now for me. People are far too polarized. It's, well, we started well. I fall in love with the manager. Therefore, I'm not going to challenge anything the club does. But that's how your club has got away with cutting corners for all your managers in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And you are where you are in the general pyramid of the game. So I just sort of sit there and think you can be happy with the start of the season, but demand better than Brendan Johnson. I don't understand why football fans can't do that in 2023.
You wait till you see the buzzwords. It won't be a process. It will be project. You watch. I guarantee you, we've got Fulham tomorrow in the second round of the Cup. I think we will beat them. And then we've got winnable games against Burnley away and Sheffield United at home. Let's say, hypothetically, we win our next 3 games. We go into the North London derby with 5 wins out of our first 6. We will be, I mean, you've got Robbie Williams singing I'm Loving Big Ange instead. The PR at the football club at the moment, we're going to be what Arsenal were like. Right, we've got a manager that's not going to go against the board. He's happy to work with a string budget. He's happy to work with certain players and play his style. Right? You watch. Give it 3 or 4 weeks' time. It'll be trust the project. Trust the project. We've got Big Ange. We've got Big Ange. And that's fine. But unless we give him the tools to do the job, unless we give him the best possible chance of being successful, what is the end outcome? Because when is it where we bring in Brendan Johnson and these scrubs, and then Big Ange says, "Oh, I need more than this." Well, what do the board say? Well, hang on, you've achieved with this, so we're going to carry on giving you this. We did it under Pochettino. We had a fantastic 11. The minute he wanted to bring in extra resources to boost that bench, Levy was like, no chance. And then we brought in the stadium, so that was the cover up for not buying any players. 587 days without signing, and it went downhill and downhill. I mean, our window's been okay. When you look at the outgoings, Terry, all we've done is sell Harry Winks. Well, that's all we've done. And we have got probably 15 players that should be leaving.
No, and I understand. And this is the thing for me. I almost look at it through the lens that this is, and this is the world we live in now. As I say, there's very simple minds out there. I praise you for winning those games, but I still think Spurs fans should have their foot on the neck of their owners, metaphorically, not for real. And there should still be big pressure for new players to come in. You can I'm like this at Man United. I've enjoyed our progression under Ten Hag. I'll criticize his mistakes. I'll praise good signings that him and the board make, but I'll also criticize the mistakes they make. It seems to, and I don't know whether it's people in general or the younger generation, but it seems to freak people out when you hang on. Yesterday, Terry, you said that was a great bit of business, £40 million for one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Now today you're saying the ball's done a terrible job in this area. Yes, it is plausible. Like, I've had proper jobs. I've sat down in appraisals with my boss and he's gone, these 3 things, Terry, have been impeccable. These 2 areas have been absolutely woeful. This has been okay. This is what I want you to continue doing. This is what I want you to improve on. That's how life is. Sometimes you're great. Everything's perfect and you're brilliant. You look at City right now, nearly everything is impeccable. But you can criticize something you love. You know, I don't know how these people are ever going to be parents, because it's literally your job to criticize and nurture the people in the world you love more than anything else. And you have to do it with tough love. And I think that's my issue. It's not my issue with Spurs fans. You guys can do what you want. But just as an observation, I almost see this, we made the signing of the season so far, best midfield, we've got this, we've got that, there's going to be no more problems. And I'm like, listen, you look good. But I've seen you look good at the beginning of seasons under a number of managers. I've seen you have teams.
We were top of the league under Nuno.
You were top of the league under Nuno. You were top of the league under Jose in a title race, and you had your best ever Premier League start last year, ever, to a Premier League season.
What's the common denominator in all 3 of those seasons?
Levy.
It went to pot.
Well, it went to pot, but because I don't think any manager got back the way they should have been, and I just look at it this way: The new coach is doing a brilliant job so far, and I think he should be praised. But it's just the whole, we've got our club back. I saw that smile on Levy's face, and he went, "Oh, I've got them again. They're going to be renewing. They'll all renew this. They'll buy the new merch. They'll give us their money. They'll come to the next Beyonce concert. They'll be go-karting on Sunday. They'll be go-karting underground on Sunday. All the money's going to be coming in." And Levy and Enoch are saying, "Yes, we've got our Tottenham back as well."
Did you see the 7,000 United fans that stayed in an hour after for the Glazer protest?
Yeah.
Right? We would never do anything like that at Tottenham. Do you know why? Because Levy, and I get pelted for this, Levy has changed the culture of the fan base. Do you know you can't get into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Terry, now in a tracksuit?
No way.
Honestly,
no.
There was a video floating around back in May of someone just a Nike tracksuit and a man bag, or a bag, whatever you want to call it, a little
bag. Yeah. Handbags.
You know what I'm talking about? The little,
I know what I've seen those handbags that men wear. Them, the Nike ones and that. Yeah.
He went in. He got up to the gate, and they said, "Sorry, mate, you can't come in." And he's like, he got his phone out, showed you got your phone on the ticket on the phone now. He was like, "We can't let you in, mate." Levy's changed the culture. We've got the world's longest bar, the world's longest hot dogs. You've got Beyonce there for 5 days in a row. You've got go-karting. He's changed the entire culture. Now, if you look at Man United, that fan base is real. They stormed the pitch when they were going to play Liverpool. 7,000, right? 10% of the stadium stand behind to protest against the ownership for over an hour, right? When you look at us,
Levy shut his internet down.
It is.
Levy has kicked it. So you froze there, mate. Levy stopped your internet. Sorry.
Oh, so I was going to say, Levy. Levy's got hold of BT and he's all over my internet. But genuinely, he's changed the culture, mate. You can't it's not like it is that it used to be. You can't stand up at games now if you're swearing too much, right? Say we're getting absolutely pelted by Newcastle again. Fans have got every right as a paying customer. Can't react emotionally.
Yeah, no, mate, I 100% hear you on that. I think knowing that you can't get in a tracksuit is mad to me. Sounds having a dress code to get into the stadium is crazy. But the thing is, this is how you know when a fan base is tapped. When people start making, oh no, but I get it because they want this and they want that. What they actually want is they are trying to, and this is what football clubs have been doing for a long time. They want to appeal more to the middle classes and the wealthier people because everything's really expensive. They're afraid that's the one element of the game where I defend all football clubs. It's why I go at a lot of owners. I think most of our clubs would be happy to phase out the working class masses that built the clubs and have made football what it is for the wealthier middle class and above. Because they make more money out of them at the end of the day. They'll spend more money, they've got more money, and that's what they want essentially. Josh here, hope you're doing well, bro. Says Ange wants Brennan. I'm willing to give it a try. We need HG players, homegrown players. Solomon is a left winger, not right winger. It would be Perry and Solomon left, Son centre forward, Cooley and Johnson right wing. I believe we also get Oban if we shift a few.
Matt, listen, so he said Solomon is a left wing. Son's going to play left wing in his formation. And Perisic is his backup. Every time Solomon's played under Postecoglou, it's been on the right. So he's going to be the right wing alongside Kulusevski, right? And then he said it would be Solomon, left wing. When Richarlison went off against Bournemouth, we were better when Son was down the middle. But if we get Brennan Johnson, apparently he's going to be played as a wide player. I can't see him at the moment unless Richarlison gets worse and worse and worse, which I don't actually know is possible at the moment, where Brennan Johnson's going to play. And then he said if we get Orban has got, look at his goal record, 44 goals or 45 goals in 50 games. And people say, oh, but it's in the Belgium League. He's still got 6 goals in 6 in the Conference League. And he scored in the Europa League qualifiers the other night. So just go and get this guy. Or what we do is we get straight on the phone to Brentford, say, what do you want for Toney? There's 50 million. As soon as it comes to January the 17th, he becomes a Tottenham player.
Yeah, listen, again, I'm not against people saying I'm gonna trust Ange and give Brendan a chance. I think that's a fair way to feel.
50 million, Terry. That's
no. I get it. I don't think it's a good deal, but I understand people's train of thought when they say I trust this manager. I'm going to give it a go. Let's see how this sort of this kind of plays out. But I still think keep the foot on the neck of these owners who have let you all down consistently for pretty much 20 20 years. Speaking of owners that let themselves down, Man United, there's talks from some people that the deals for Amrabat and Cucurella are close. I want to ask you about Cucurella, first of all. A year ago, and I laugh like that as well, a year ago, everyone wanted Cucurella. Everybody rated him. He was this brilliant new left back. Pep wanted him. Tuchel wanted him. You fast forward 12 months, and he's now seen as a scrub. He is mid. He is average. Good or bad business for Man United, in your opinion?
What's the fee going to be? Is it a loan or something?
It'd be a loan, so no idea what the fee would be. Probably all his wages, but a loan.
Problem is, we do this a lot. I mean, there's fans saying, "Oh, Gravenberch is finished because they had one bad season at Bayern Munich." He wasn't a bad player at Brighton. Yes, he's gone to Chelsea, and how many players don't turn up for Chelsea? Thousands, right? It's very, very few signing they get that's bang on the money. I wouldn't be that against it. I don't really see, like, because he's had one bad year at Chelsea, he's automatically a scrub, he's a flop. If you don't go in, I know you've been looking at Sergio Reguilon as well. There was Romano was talking about him, but
I didn't realize he was still your player.
Yeah, he went out on loan, didn't he, to Atletico? But if it's a loan with just a straight loan with no option to buy or anything like that, I wouldn't be against it. I mean, how long is Luke Shaw going to be out for? Is he out for a long time?
Well, for me, the fact we're looking at a replacement tells me he must be. He must be out for a good 3 or 4 or 5 months, because why? If he's only out for like 5-6 weeks, you wouldn't go and purchase somebody.
Where's the other guy? Where's Malacia?
Malacia's due back soon as well. So it's an interesting one for me. It tells me that Luke Shaw's out for a considerable amount of time.
Out of the two, out of Cucurella and Reguilon, I probably would, not just my bias, I probably would go for Reguilon.
I would. I would. I didn't think Reguilon was bad for you lot. I didn't think he was that bad for you, really. I thought it was all right. Cucurella is a weird one. There's a comment here that says, Terry, I guess Cucurella is a top player now. No, but we've seen him be a top player. And the one thing in my mind is I still would like to do it. If we do Cucurella, same with Reguilon, you have to do that deal with an option to buy where we control it, and the team we're loaning them from can't. Because the last thing you want, imagine you bring Cucurella in, and at your club under your system, he cooks. And we have seen players before move Premier League clubs and become better. We've seen players look poor under a certain manager at a club. A new guy comes in and they look amazing. We've seen people be awful in the Prem, leave the Prem, come back a year or two later and be some of the greatest players the Premier League has ever seen.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me which is the optimist. It's like, oh, imagine we bring him in and he gets back to his Brighton days. There's another part of me that thinks I watched him for a year at Chelsea and the man is awful. What are we doing? Give a kid a chance. So I'm 70-80%. I don't want this deal, but I'm not going to lie. There is the optimist in me that thinks if he could produce for us like he did for Brighton in the season where he won their Player of the Year and their Fans Player of the Year, what a coup that could be. What a brilliant signing that could be. But I just don't trust it. I think we're going to bring him in. I just think he's going to be awful for us like he was Chelsea, and we're going to be laughed at.
You could probably get Reguilon for like 20 million. You could do a loan probably with an option to buy for 20 million. He's only got 2 years left on his contract. He's out of the manager's plans. We've got Udogie now. I think Reguilon, for the way you play, would probably be better. I think he's better defensively as well than Cucurella.
No, I hear this. I hear that. I hear it. Yeah, as I say, ideally, I don't want either. But it's a situation that's created. There's a comment here that says that Luke Shaw is not difficult to replace. It's not hard to replace. I hear you, but when you say that, who's better? Like, who's attainable right now that moves the needle in Luke Shaw's position? And that's the question for you, Don. So you're saying he's not hard to replace, but I don't want to go from I'm taking your count here. Say you tell me what you think he is out of 10, Luke Shaw. Say you think he's a 5 out of 10. I don't see the point of replacing him with a 5.5 or a 6.
Yeah, it's
just a lot of effort for nothing. If you're going to bring in an 8, an 8.5, a 9, I'm buzzing about that. But I don't want to upgrade, a decent average player for another decent average player. I don't see how it helps Manchester United if that makes sense. Cucurella done well in a back 5 only, and that's just it. Like, I don't know how. We want to invert a bit more this year. Is that going to work? Can he actually play as a left back. I don't know. The thing is, though, as well, there's been certain players that, again, roles have changed, or they've gone to new teams or systems. Look at Granit Xhaka at Arsenal last year. The system changed. He suddenly had inverted fullback, so he could push on further forward. And he had a season that's so good that Arsenal fans are now gutted he left after 4 years of them saying, please sell Xhaka. So things can change. But,
did you see his goal at the weekend?
No, I haven't seen it. I didn't see it.
Typing on Twitter, Xhaka goal. That's a ball comes up to him and he just volleys it straight in the back of the net. I bet they're crying out for him now, trying to shoehorn Havertz in.
Let's have a little look. Let's have a little look at this bad boy. Hang on. Oh, posting in as well off the left peg. That's a serious shot. That is a serious. Right. Yeah, I don't want it. The Amrabat deal was the one I'm worried about. You know, Samuel Luckhurst today has poured a lot of cold water over this. Samuel Luckhurst has said actually there's 10 midfielders United are looking at. Fucking 10. And Amrabat's likely to not be one of them. But Fabrizio is basically saying as soon as a Toney or a McTominay leaves, United will move in on this deal. So I trust Fabrizio more than I trust Samuel Luckhurst because Fabrizio is who he is. But I'm not going to lie. I'm worried if we don't, because we need it. We were actually, listen, I know we conceded 2 goals in 3 minutes, but we were really good at the weekend outside of that. I watched the game back with no nerves, and the 2 goals they scored were weird, to say the least.
Rashford kind of caught you by surprise, didn't it?
Well, Rashford it was funny because a lot of people said, why didn't Rashford challenge? And that's because Rashford thought the player was going to shoot and he wasn't there. And then the player dummied, and suddenly if Rashford had made a tackle, he'd have won the ball. That's an attacker defending, though. A defender would have made that tackle. And the goalie, like, I've never seen an analyst like it. Why did the goalie fall down? Because the attacker dummied twice and he went to make the save and then realised that the shot
he's already become the scapegoat, Onana. Big time.
Oh, mate. I have not. You know he's become a scapegoat. He got lobbed in pre-season when we gave the ball away in midfield because he was out off his line. And the ridicule for that was astronomical. I haven't seen a single journalist or a single video or a single post or a single anything about Ramsdale being caught off his line when Saka gave the ball away at the weekend. And that's right, by the way, because Ramsdale didn't do anything wrong. Ramsdale was where he was meant to be for a sweeper keeper. It was Saka who gave the ball away. But I know for a fact if Man United can see the goal like that, it will be wild. Look at Onana off his line. It's a weird one. And Gary Neville's been wrong about a lot. He's been right about a lot. One thing he's bang on about is that the most scrutinized football position in English football is the Man United number 1. It's astronomical. But in terms of, we need Amrabat. We need Amrabat massively. You know, we need that energy. We need that size. We need that power. And we need that ball carrying and ball playing ability in the midfield. If you could put some size and power into Eriksen, would be fine because he's got the passing range, but he's just too small, in my opinion, in 2023 for some of these midfield battles. If we don't get Amrabat, in fact, we need Amrabat and we need Gravenberch as well. And have you seen that weird deal? I mean, again, it's come from some top German outlets who reckon that Bayern Munich are up for doing a McTominay Gravenberch swap deal.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
He joined from Ajax for what, 40 million euros, something like that. Genuinely, I think like he's Bayern Munich. If you don't do well in your first season, you're practically not good enough for the football club. That's the way they see it. He's another player like Cucurella. Had a bad season. Now everyone's forgetting what he did at Ajax. Everyone just completely forgot what he did at Ajax. Gravenberch in your midfield. If I was a United fan, I would rather Amrabat. I don't think Gravenberch, if Casemiro did get injured and you slot him into that holding role, I don't think he plays that role as well as Amrabat. However, if you had a midfield of Casemiro, Gravenberch, and Bruno Fernandes, you've got an engine there in Gravenberch. None of this Mason Mount, he can do it. You know, mate, I'll be worried about your midfield, mate. The Wolves game, you're absolutely overrun, right?
Mate, we were pillaged. We were pillaged in that game. But this is why the Wolves game is hard to the Forest game's hard to judge because we went down to two goals. So I mean, the second goal they scored, just ball missed it. Like it went over the heads of everybody and then just hit Willy Bolly in the face. He didn't even hit it. He just hit him in the face. He ran off and I can't believe it went in. But after that, we were very, very good indeed. And our fullbacks inverted at the right times to give us more cover in the middle if counterattacks happened. And the manager, I'm really intrigued to see the next few games for United, because the manager called it out and said it's nothing to do with the midfield. He said it was to do with the front and the back. And this is where journalists annoy me. They get all this access to managers, but they always ask the wrong questions. So when he turned around and said the midfield have not been the problem in the last 2 games, it's been the front and the back. The next question shouldn't be, but the fans have been saying there's fitness issues. Don't ask him that yet. The question should be, can you explain what you mean by the front and the back? Because I'm still at a loss. I don't know what that means. This is my assumption, is what he means is that people from the front and the back haven't been covering in holes when the midfielders push forward. Therefore, there's been holes. And that makes sense to me, because when last season, we'll use Arsenal as an example because they were excellent. When Granit Xhaka went forward and Odegaard from the midfield 3 went forward, the fullbacks inverted. If the fullbacks went forward at the same time as the midfielders, one of their wide attackers will often drop back into a more central position to cover any counters or transitions that everybody calls them now. That's what I assume he meant. And if that's what he means, and the attackers and the defenders haven't been covering their positions they've been instructed to, then the midfield isn't the problem per se. Does that make sense? And that's where I get annoyed at journalists, because I'm like, you've got all this access to ask the questions that give us what we want. Instead, you focus on weird Twitter agendas like, I don't think the players are fit. They don't look fit, but it turns out it's because they're not in the right positions and they're being made to sprint 10, 20 more times in a game. Therefore, they look exhausted. It all makes sense. And that, for me, is why I'm intrigued to see our next few games. Just a shame our next bloody game's away at Arsenal, because we always get battered there. But yeah, we need 2 midfielders. There's an interesting rumor that someone just sent a link to me on here, is that Man United are actually linked to Rico Henry from... Listen, give me Rico Henry at left back over Cucurella and Reguilon. He is a player who I think is really good.
Blistering pace as well.
Rico Henry, and this is exactly it. What a great shout from whoever is. I don't know if this is a genuine rumor or just what McAveer has said. And this is what I mean. There's players out there. Go there now. I want 2 midfielders. I do. But if we could get the money together and go, look, there's 25 million pound Rico Henry, 26 years old, experienced football player at all levels, good fitness record, blistering pace, great on the overlap, very technically proficient. Rico Henry, I would take
defender
him.
as well.
Yeah. Again, like I would like that. That to me just stands out as a great example of much better business than Cucurella, much better business than a Reguilon, who haven't made it in the Premier League. As I said, I didn't think Reguilon was that bad for you, but there's a reason.
Before he got his hamstring injury, it was like at one point we signed him in 2020 August. Up until February, it was like we couldn't play without him. He was brilliant. Then he got his hamstring injury, and it just kind of went to pot. The whole thing went to pot. He doesn't look a same player. But Rico Henry, I'd take him at Spurs. I think most Premier League teams, like you said, he's fairly good technically. He's an okay defender, blistering pace. Not many people can get the better of him. I'd be happy with that. If that was 25 million or 20 million pounds to United, I think that's much better than you getting Reguilon or Cucurella. I'm not going to lie. Even, do you know what I like as well? Mitchell from Palace. I'm not sure what his fee is, but I think he's a half-decent defender.
Yeah, the problem is Mitchell from Paris. Listen, so could Rico Henry in the end, but they probably want 50-odd million pound for him, and it's just probably too expensive for us. But yeah, listen, from my point of view, again, probably a better option. I don't think he's technically as good as Rico Henry, but he is good. But we've been stung with AWB. I kind of like AWB. I just don't like it. AWB would be a good signing if we had more proficient technical ballers around us and he could kind of blend in with the team, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The problem is he just stands out like a sore thumb because everybody else is we don't have an abundance of highly technical gifted football players at the club. But yeah, Rico Henry, I wouldn't mind. But I think you're right. The midfield needs sorting at United because yes, we won at the weekend. It was a brilliant comeback and we performed well. And look, Bruno was a joke at the weekend. He was an absolute joke. Creative, ran everywhere, pressed brilliantly. He led the team.
What is it the club tweeted out? Creative machine or something like that, didn't they?
Well, no. I think they tweeted it, but that's what KDB at to was on Saturday.
Yeah, he three midfielders, didn't he? It was
he rated him as the best in the league, not including himself, obviously. And he said he's just a creative machine, and he is. And what's really funny, I'm going to reveal this now rather than I was going to wait till the show later. But even his detractors said, what a great game he had. Do you know how many times Bruno gave the ball away at the weekend?
Go on.
34 times. Well, so possession lost. Now, you've got to remember, he had 5 shots in that game. 2 went over, 2 were saved, and 3 were saved. 5 of those are those shots. Does that make sense? He took, I think, 7 or 8 corners, and they were cleared. Therefore, 7. That's what you got when you break that stat down. So 5 shots.
It's context, isn't it?
So 13 of them are through corners and shots, as an example. Equally, do you know when you do an assist and score from it, it counts as loss of possession because your opponents get kickoff. So another one of them was that. But he gave the ball away 34 times, and suddenly that stat, when he gives it away, normally that's the stat where everyone goes, oh, he's had a terrible game because he gave the ball away a lot. No, he doesn't. Giving the ball away is not a stat, generally speaking, that creative forward players should be judged upon. I want them giving the ball away a lot because I want them trying those through balls, trying those crosses, putting the ball into the danger areas. Most of them won't come off. The maddest bit is KDB and Bruno Fernandes average the highest amount of possession loss in the Premier League for the past 4 years. But equally, they're the biggest 2 creators of chances and big chances in European football in that same period. So why would you want them to stop giving the ball away? Give it away more. So yeah, it's I'm very, very impressed with him.
Do you feel like nowadays a player can have an absolutely terrible game, but then score, and that one goal just overpowers absolutely everything? For instance, there was a lot of games last season where Son wasn't great, but he'd score a goal, and our fan base said, like, yep, Son's back, he's back 100%. But then when you look at the rest of his performance, and I'm like, he was awful.
Yeah, no, it definitely can. So we have Marcus Rashford, who a lot of people label this at. And I've definitely seen Rashford have some stinkers and score goals. So there's an element of that which is great because a lot of those goals are often clutch. They're winners or they change games and it's important. But there's also a lot of games where it depends on what you value as look at as having a good game. So I don't look at Son and Rashford as overly different football players. If they're looking dangerous throughout a game and they're giving a fullback a torrid time, they're breaking lines, they're putting good balls into the box, they're causing problems for their teams, I look at that as a good game from those players because that's what they are. I don't expect Son, I don't expect Rashford to play like Messi because that's not who they are as football players. So I don't judge a goldfish by its ability to climb a tree. I judge it for being a goldfish, and that's how you should treat footballers. And Rashford at the weekend was a prime example. He didn't score, but created the first goal that we got back. Brilliant cross to Bruno, who set up the second goal for Casemiro, and he won the penalty for the winner. That, for me, is a solid performance without scoring because he was He was so dangerous. He was basically had the biggest hand in all 3 goals, barring the goal scorers. And I want to see more of that. So you're absolutely right. Some players can have stinkers, score a goal, and everyone says, what a great game. Haaland yesterday is a great example. He had an awful game, but he got the goal. So I wouldn't look at that and go, what a performance. However, if you're prolific, it can paper over cracks at times because at the end of the day, getting the goals and winning games is the most important thing. So I think you have to look at the situation as you have to be quite fluid with it, if that makes sense. But I get where you're coming from completely. The whole, if someone drops a stinker for 3 games running, 4th game they're awful and they bang in a 90-minute winner, doesn't mean they're back. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, like the amount of times where like Harry Kane wouldn't score a goal, but he'd still have a fantastic performance because he's creating things, he's holding the ball up. And then there's like flat strikers where Haaland doesn't score. I'm thinking, okay, what else have you got in your arsenal what else are you bringing to the table, It's the same with Son. When Son doesn't score, like, yes, he was involved in both goals in the build-up play in both goals, but he didn't really do too much at the weekend. And I think SofaScore give him an 8.1 rating. And I'm like, based on what? Like, if anything, man of the match by a country mile was Maddison, probably closely followed by Basuma. But because he's club captain and the PR is like, we're undefeated since Son's been captain and all that. Like, who cares? We're 3 games in. Yeah. No. I listen. I get where you're coming from. Equally, though, I see players that have games where they look like they're doing a lot, but they don't do anything. So you have to be very, very mindful of players who are just what I call crab footballers. They move the ball sideways, a few nice pirouettes and turns, and then safe passes. I suppose it all depends about your disposition of the game. So what I love about Bruno, what I love about KDB as examples is
they will give the ball away so much in games, trying things. Sometimes they try a pass and it goes to no one. You think, what are you doing? But I love the fact they're taking risks and they're trying their best to change the game. There are too many players, and Man United have had a lot of them. Scott McTominay is one. He'll hide in games and he'll get the ball. And instead of going, that's a really hard pass to pull off, I might give the ball away. In fact, what I'll do, I'll knock it free outside, to give it to somebody else. You know, they don't take responsibility for scoring those goals or creating those opportunities. So I think it's about having a balance. The problem you also have with that conversation is people are so biased now. So if they don't like a football player, or that player competes with their favorite player in the squad, they will always look to play down the good things that they do. You know, there are Man United fans still to this day that believe Donny van de Beek is a better 10 than Bruno Fernandes.
It's ridiculous. I said the other day, Donny van de Beek, for what Tottenham need, I take him as an 8, but there's no way he's getting in over anywhere near Maddison. And Bruno Fernandes, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Some football fans, we're so emotionally connected to certain players. Like, if anyone thinks Donny van de Beek is a better number 10 than Bruno, you're absolutely tapped.
It's again, technically as a footballer, he looks better. But the fact is, this is what I said to. This is why there's certain people that are still hating on Rashford and Bruno at Man United, because their favourite two of Donny and Martial are finished to a point where the club's got them on the transfer market. Nobody wants to buy them. So again, but they still think they're better than Rashford and Bruno. But if you put Bruno and Rashford on the transfer market today, you're getting big money for both like that. So again, this is where people have to drop their personal preference and look at the overall. And I always compare it to music as an example. And I'm like, look, you don't need to like the Beatles. But if you think Oasis are better than the Beatles, I'm just going to say, look at the awards, look at the record sales.
Yeah, the accolades speak for themselves.
Exactly. You can't, it's not a debate. Your preference is one thing. The reality is another. Preference and reality are two very, very different things. The thing is, like Henry, like you might find a certain lady gorgeous. Doesn't mean she is. Or
you might
versa.
say, oh, she looks like a fridge or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never say that about a lady, but yeah, I hear you. Like, especially not on camera, but no, I hear you. It's just beauty is in the eye of the beholder sometimes, but some people, as you say, they're very emotionally charged, and
our fans still do it with Dele Alli. I mean, Dele Alli has got enough on his plate.
Oasis were not mid. Don't say again. Oasis weren't mid. Oasis were very good. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course they were. Like, our fans do it about Dele Alli. Oh, Dele Alli's back because he's in the gym. Okay. He's got enough on his plate. Leave him away from Tottenham. He's got already enough on his plate. He doesn't need us as well. We did it with Eric Lamela. He spent nearly 8 years at this football club and scored 17 Premier League goals. But our fans go, Lamela's back. Lamela's back. Like, Spurs Web, one of the biggest Twitter accounts on Tottenham's community, are still putting up videos of Gareth Bale. He left our football club. He's retired since. Won 5 Champions Leagues. Who cares?
He left 10 years ago, didn't he?
11 years ago.
11 years ago.
And they're still putting up when he did a Maradona twirl in an FA Cup game. Who cares? Like, the PR at football clubs is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Honestly, like, there are certain Man United accounts who, listen, and I respect their opinion. They don't like certain players at the club who are doing well for us, but they're still repping the man that are not. I mean, there was one guy this summer who was like, bring back Pogba. I'm like, oh, I love Pogba, but that man's body is made of biscuits, wet, soggy ones as well. Like, he's going to fall apart. And it's like, let's be sensible. I remember I got stick from Lee Gunner. Why wouldn't you want Neymar? Because his body's broken. The guy's not started more than 16 league games for 7 years. And he's 31 now. I don't want him. I want him. I want the talent. I don't want the whole package. And it's so hard now for people to understand this. But there we go. Viewers, do us a big favor. Smash the like button this morning. Make sure you're subscribed. And remember, 6 p.m. today, the Top 6 show. We're back. We're live. Lots to talk about in terms of that. I wanted to get your opinion on Chelsea, because Chelsea are also in for. We are going to talk. Sorry, we are going to talk a bit of Liverpool on the show. We're going to talk a little bit of City. We're going to talk a little bit of Arsenal as well. And interesting, I spoke to a journalist this morning about Ivan Toney and Arsenal. So we'll be getting onto that a little bit later in the show. But I wanted to ask you about Chelsea, because they got their first win of the season on Friday night. I feel like they've started the season okay, but they need more goals, definitely. And they were linked to Balogun. He's now looks like he's going Monaco. They're also linked to maybe your star signing of the summer in Brennan Johnson. I'm sure you want Chelsea to win that race.
I'd much rather Chelsea get Brennan Johnson. The way I actually watched their game, or most of their game, I watched about the first 65, 70 minutes on Friday night. Thought Chelsea were good. Obviously, Luton probably one of the if not the weakest side in the Premier League. A win's a win, though. The one thing I will say is Sterling looks like he's getting back to the Sterling that we saw that last year under Pep, and that's what Poch will do. He will automatically lifts players up. I think he will be. I mean, they've got a lot of young players now, right? He's probably one of the senior. Him and Thiago Silva, probably the oldest players in that team. So they're going to look to him now and go, okay, who's going to drag us through the results? I don't know though if there's a lot of people talking about this Jackson guy. I don't know if he's the striker to take Chelsea back into the Champions League and back to where they want to be. I don't know. I think they're going to play lots of good football. Obviously with Poch, lots of talent. Casado, Lavia, Enzo Fernandez is just a joke. But with their strike, what's their best front three? Because they've got so many. They've got when Nkunku comes back, where's he going to play? Is he going to play Cam? Is he going to play false nine? I think I don't know about Jackson. I watched Gary Neville. I think he said he's not mature enough, or something like that. I don't know, but I think they'll do well. I don't know if they're going to get top four though. I don't know if they've got enough goals in that side. Same but they're going to be similar to us. They're going to get goals from everywhere, but not have a vocal point. You know?
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. John here says Fabrizio said Chelsea don't want Johnson. Terry, stop spewing lies. I hear you, but Sky Sports, I think Matt Law, Miguel Delaney, and two others have said that you are still looking at him. So I'm not going to ignore those reports just because Fabrizio has said it. The same with Man United. He said that we're going for Amrabat. I haven't ignored the story from Samuel Luckhurst that we're not. I'm not about confirmation bias and seeking the stories that best suit our narratives. I'm about looking at what's being said in totality, and then we can formulate an opinion, my friend. Look, I like Jackson. I think there's a serious player in there.
There is, but
whether or not that blossoms this season,
yeah.
Because I do think, considering the top 5 teams make Champions League football, considering £1 billion spent in the last 3 transfer windows, Chelsea have to make the Champions League. They genuinely have to make the Champions League this year. And the only thing that I think is going to stop them, I think defensively they'll be fine. I think midfield-wise, once that Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo sort of trio cooks, and they won't all play together at the same time, but when that cooks, it's going to be hard to break down and beat. Energy, pace, technical ability, youth, stamina. As long as they get goals, they'll do it. The goals is what could stop them, if that makes it. We saw yesterday with Liverpool, the midfield was looking weak, the defense is penetrable. But when you've got people that can bag goals, you will win games still. Goals win you games, defenses win you titles. But you can make Champions League football without having the best defense. You can't win the title with that, but you need those goals. So it's a lot of pressure on Jackson, which is why I think they have to get a goal scorer. But that's why I think the Brendan Johnson deal's weird, because he's more of a right-sided winger, which is where Sterling started and looked good. They need to go and spend the money on Bagsman. Sorry?
Do you reckon they can put Sterling through the middle?
I don't know. I mean, he was more. I like it. I used to like him on the left for City. I think he was deadly there. If they play the ball, they can get the ball played across. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe the plan is put Brendan Johnson or someone like him on the right, Sterling on the left, Jackson through the middle. Yeah, Nkunku's going to come back. But Chelsea fans, correct me if I'm wrong. This is off the top of my head. I swear I read it could be like December, January before he's back. Or maybe that's somebody else that's out that long.
I think it was November, December the time. By the time he won't be fit till January.
Yeah, it's a long time. But yeah, I don't think Sterling will go through the middle. They need someone who scores goals. The problem you have is, who is that? And I want the viewers to help us with this. Who is that goal scorer that's available now, who you like through the middle as a 9 guarantees you goals?
Do you know what? As an unpopular opinion, do you know what I think would be very good for Chelsea? Ollie Watkins.
Ooh, Ollie Watkins. Talk to me about that.
Good player, plays the number 9, leads the line well, good finisher. I think English. The problem with Ollie Watkins is going to be that price tag. They're not going to get Vlahovic. Osimhen's not going to leave this window, right? Watkins, I think like when you look at them, we've got Harry Kane, then you look at the 3 English strikers behind it. You got Wilson, Toney, and Watkins. And I think Watkins doesn't get enough credit as the other two. What did he get last year? 18 goals, 17 goals? With a Chelsea team, with the technical ability of that midfield, if Enzo's spraying them around like Banksy, and the wire players putting balls in the box, he will get 20 goals. He will comfortably get 20 goals a season in that Chelsea side. He's available now. He's fit, scoring goals at Villa, creating goals at Villa. I don't know if he was available hypothetically for 50 million, let's say. Right, I don't know how long he's got left in his contract, but Watkins would be a good buy. Just quickly, I'll come back to Watkins in a second. Everyone's talking about Caicedo and Lavia. Why is no one talking about Salah Toure? Pavan Matar is 20 years of age, right? And he's absolutely playing out of his skin. And no one's talking about him. We got Salah Toure and Udogie for £29 million. The both of them. And they are playing out of their skin. Salah, I'm telling you, will be levels in a couple of... Give it 2 years and he'll be an 80 million, 100 million pound player.
This is the thing. For fans, it's a difficult one when you say, who's that number 9? Because we can only go by what we see on television, really. My question is, what are the scouts at Chelsea doing in terms of finding that player they can believe is going to be prolific straight away? You know, and I think they need... Maybe they think it's Jackson. And listen, maybe Jackson will do it. Maybe he scored on Friday. Maybe he scores again this weekend. And then maybe he just goes on from there and he's going to be...
Who they got the weekend?
Don't know. I'll have to look.
They got Forest. I mean, again, they'll probably win that, but it's when... Again,
I think when he's playing against teams like Forest, teams like Luton, and I'm talking like bottom 8 teams, that is where, generally speaking, and I'll have the same, by the way, Chelsea fans, you know me, I don't do bias. I'll have the same expectations for Rasmus Hojlund. Those are the teams that I expect my number 9 to be. I think when you're a number 9 of a top 6 club, when you're playing against the bottom 8 teams, you should be expecting your number 9 to score against those clubs without a shadow. As you go further up the table, it depends on the chances created because the defenses get better, the midfields get better, the teams get, you become more balanced out. But those bottom 8 teams, I expect the number 9 of City, Liverpool, United, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal.
Oh, I don't know about Richarlison. Let's take Richarlison out of that.
No, I do. I expect the number 9 of all of our clubs in the top 6 to be bagging goals against that bottom 8. It has to. We have to. They have to. It needs to be done. He says, yeah, right. What do you mean, yeah, right, Terry? How can you not expect number 9s at the biggest clubs in England and some of the best clubs in the world to not score against the teams that are all in relegation battles? You should be expecting them to. I'm looking at it this way. I expect my Rasmus Hojlund this season to score against Luton, Sheffield United. I expect him to score against Everton. I expect him to score against Bournemouth. I expect him, look, Burnley ain't started that well. Burnley, we should be scoring against Forest. We just played Wolves as well. Like, I look at those teams and go, they're like 100%, especially at home. Especially at home, they've got to be scoring against that level of opposition. I don't understand why that's so controversial.
It's not, mate. It should be fairly common knowledge. But the thing about Chelsea is they've got winnable games coming up, right? They've got Wimbledon in the Cup, Forest, Bournemouth, Villa, Fulham and Burnley. Now, I expect Jackson to get maybe in his next 5 games 3 goals, maybe. But it's when from the 21st of October, right, to the 6th of December, they've got Arsenal, Brentford, Tottenham, City, Newcastle, Brighton and United in back-to-back games. I don't see Jackson going and getting goals against them. I don't think, right now, maybe not this season, but where are they going to get their goals from? Like you said, when the defenses get better. The way West Ham, right? Way West Ham played against them, right? David Moyes has got this season so far to an absolute T. Counter-attack Brighton, it was like a Moyes masterclass. But the way West Ham were getting through Chelsea, I was like, hang on, you know, Caicedo drops an absolute disaster class. I'm not going to judge him after 1 game, whatever, but I don't know if Chelsea are going to get top 4, mate. I don't think they've got enough firepower there. Now, if you added Watkins, maybe another forward, I think they've got every chance. But that run from the 21st of October to the 6th of December is when we'll see what Chelsea are made of. When they've got
listen,
Arsenal, Brentford.
Yeah, I understand that. When is that run?
21st of October to the 6th of December, they've got Arsenal, Brentford, Chelsea, Tottenham, City, Newcastle, Brighton, and Man United in back-to-back games. That's when we'll see what level of striker Jackson is.
Yeah, no, I get where. Yeah, that is a mad run, and that is a mad run of games, as you can see. No, and I get where you're coming from, and I think that's a real test to see where Chelsea are and where their development is up until that point. I think it makes a lot of sense. Viewers, let us know what you think about what Henry has just said to us there. DJ says even Weghorst. Yes, I do. I did expect Weghorst to score against those teams. From the perspective of, if you're not able to, you are not good enough. There's no chance. If you're not good enough as a striker, now, if you're young and you've got to develop, there's a difference because you can see talent and potential. But if you're an established striker and you are not good enough when playing for one of the biggest teams in England and one of the best teams in England, if you're finishing in the top 2, 3, 4, 5, to consistently score against the bottom teams, especially at home, you are not good enough. At the very least, I expect the number 9s at the big clubs to stat pad against these small teams. Like, at the very least, you've got to be good enough to do that. If you can't score against them, how are you going to do it against the biggest and the best teams? The answer is you are not on a consistent basis. Therefore, you are not a good enough number 9 for these teams. So the expectation is to do it. Did I ever believe Weghorst was good enough to do it? No, I did not, which is why I was angry at the signing. Terry, you've never seen Hojlund play. I've watched enough of him, though. I've watched, again, let's not act like we're not living in the 21st century in 2023 where we have access to footage. We have access to scouting reports. We have access to in-game footage. I use Y-Scout, which any stat you can imagine, first touches, runs in behind, goals that are being scored. You can edit it to prolonged periods of play. I've watched hours of footage of this kid, and I believe he's good enough this season to score 15 goals in the league, and I believe he can become a very prolific scorer in his career. But even this season, at home against Wolves, Everton, Luton,
Sheffield, Burnley,
Burnley, Sheffield United, I expect him, if the chances are created, to score goals. First season or not. No one yet in the comments has given me a reason why my expectation is warped. You've said you're wrong, but that's not an argument. Why am I wrong? Let's delve deeper into this. I like the discussion. I can't understand. I don't understand. And no, don't just watch compilations. Y-Scout is not compilations.
Gives you a breakdown of how the player actually plays in a detailed report.
Absolutely. So if someone says to you, my friend, I don't rate a player's first touch, you can literally go onto the website and I can look at every first touch that Rasmus Hojlund has had for the past 5 years. Every first touch he's had, every game he's played, even the youth games on there. You can look at every first touch he's had. So you can sit there one by one and look at thousands of first touches and then genuinely assess how good or bad it is, as opposed to looking at a compilation where they only put the good ones in, or a foul compilation where they only put the bad ones in. Sorry, mate?
I think he'll be a really good signing for you lot. Everyone's automatically going to do what they did with Darwin Núñez and be like, oh, but he's not Haaland, he's not Haaland. As soon as there's a good goal scorer in the Premier League now, the metric and but he's not Haaland. The Darwin Núñez, by the way, both those finishes against Newcastle, that's the Benfica Darwin Núñez. Like, those finishes were disgusting.
Yeah, look, Rasmus, again, one thing about Rasmus Hojlund, which has gone under the radar we need, he's 6'3", he's strong, and he is fast. He's if he's top speed in terms of top sprint, is not too much slower than Kylian Mbappe's. Again, that's based on a statistic I read. I looked at this earlier, and speed is massively important. Rasmus Hojlund, top speed. He's top speed. He's been clocked at here. He's waiting for it to load, and I'm going to compare this to Mbappe, who for me is the fastest attacker out there, who is the quickest. I'm just going to put this up here. So, yeah, Kylian Mbappe's top speed is 36 kilometers per hour. Rasmus Hojlund's top speed last season was 35.97. So this kid, and his acceleration is fairly similar. So you've got a kid who's strong, big, powerful, decent finisher at the moment, who I think is going to get better, but has got the speed to rip past back lines. He's going to score goals. It's as simple and straightforward as that. And he's what I like about him. He's young, but he's built like a man already. That's something that's like Rooney-esque about him. He doesn't look like a man in a child's body. So yeah, listen, it's holy gas terror. I know. Listen, you can say what you want. I've studied this kid. This kid is a top talent for a youngster, and he's got the potential.
He'll score a lot of goals. The way you play, he'll be leading the line. Bruno playing him in, Rashford, but Rashford's got to play out on the left. None of this every now and then putting him through the middle. If I was a United fan, I just want to. I don't get where this Anthony stuff's coming from. Like, just drop the guy. He's not the guy. If I was a United fan, I'd want Sancho on the right, Rashford on the left, and Hojlund through the middle, with Bruno, Casemiro, and Amrabat in midfield.
I'm going to make this claim to everybody now. Rasmus Hojlund is a better football player than Haaland. The only reason they're being compared is because they're blonde and Scandinavian, and their names sound fairly similar. Haaland, Man City's Haaland, is a superior finisher of the ball. There is actually no comparison. Haaland, for me, is the best finisher of the ball in the world. But when it comes to the overall football play, holding up of the ball, going left and going right, going on the inside or the outside, whichever way you want to describe it in the modern day game, and his ability to link up play, from what I've seen, Hojlund is better than Haaland at that. For, at the age they've got to remember with Haaland, he's still very young himself, and there's still a lot of room for improvement in him. This is a highly talented football player. Yes, he cost £64 million, but I believe if he spent one more year in Serie A at Atalanta, this would be £100+ million player next year after another fantastic season that I believe he would have. And look, there's going to be lots of learning curves. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be some bad performances at times. He's young. That's normal. But this is a serious star that United have invested in. He's got brilliant hold-up play, very good technical ability, blistering power and speed, and he's a very good finisher and could become an excellent finisher. And the development in there is there's a lot of development that's needed. But if that's done right, there's a star in the making here. There really, really is.
He's only, 20, 21, something like that? 22?
I don't know why I haven't checked his age. I want to say 21, but he could be a year younger than that. But he might be 21. He's 20. He turns 21 this season.
He'll score a lot of goals. Easy. He'll score a lot of goals. I'll be honest, I'll hold my hands up. I don't know too much about him. I've seen him play, some highlights for Atalanta. But the thing is, everyone says, he only scored 8 or 9 goals last year. But look at the amount of minutes he played. Look at the amount of minutes, or the games that he come on off the bench, or games. How many games did he actually start?
This is the thing. What people do, though, they have like this kind of they look for. This was a player, by the way. Rasmus Hojlund was a player that I saw multiple fan bases in my comment sections all of last season talking about. Oh, have you seen this kid? I remember the first time I saw his name put in there, I thought people were misspelling Haaland. I wasn't sure who he was. Early part of last year, so I started watching him, started looking at his stuff, and yeah, he's really good. I saw Liverpool fans talk about him, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, in this community that we're on right now talking about him. As soon as he's linked to Man United, suddenly he's meaty. The same could be said about Amrabat. Everyone and his dog wanted Amrabat during the World Cup. Oh my God, look how good he is. When the Conference League final happened, most fan bases, mainly because they were getting Arsenal, Amrabat over Declan Rice every day of the week. As soon as he's heavily linked to Man United, suddenly he's a mid player that nobody wants. The fact that Liverpool have inquired about him, Bayern Munich inquired about him, Napoli are now coming in for him. Yeah, he's a shit player. But that's only because he's linked to Man United. It's a madness to me, but there we go. But yeah, look, Chelsea, they definitely need, back to them, they definitely need to bring strikers in. In terms of Arsenal, I wanted to ask you about them because Arsenal fans are not very happy right now. Do you think they've got a point? Do you think 7 points for your opening 3 games?
What is the manager doing? Why is it like, just go back to what you know. Go back to the back four of Ben White right back, Partey in midfield. What is this experimenting stuff? Is fantastic when you're starting out, but not when you're in your 4th year of your process, right? You're not. I don't know. Like Partey right back, Kirill left back, a midfield 3 of Kai Havertz. It's just go back to what you know. Go back to your basics. Partey, Rice, Odegaard in midfield. Ben White, right back. Zinchenko, left back. Gabriel apparently isn't fit when we all know the geezer is fit. The whole thing is to try and experiment. And some people will say, oh, it's to shoehorn Kai Havertz in. But, just go back to your basics. Martinelli looks a bit meh. Saka's been okay. But it's just beautiful to watch, mate. I'm here for every single minute of the way. I'm here every single minute of the way because I don't think they're going to... I think, obviously, 3 games in, Man United could go on a run of the next 10, 15 games. Man City, whoever it is, right? Give it 10, 12 games, you get a rough idea of where teams roughly may finish. Depending on, you could bring another manager in or whatever. But if Arsenal keep doing this experimenting thing for another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, it's going to cost them. Man City yesterday, right? 1-0 up. Sheffield United equalise. 3 minutes later, City score. Their mentality is different. Their mentality is to win at all costs. But the difference is, when Pep experiments, he gets it right. When he went to last year to that 3 at the back formation, took everyone by surprise. When old pandemic Pep's doing it in Arteta, if you're going to experiment, you have to get it right. And let's be honest, Fulham go down to 10 men. Arsenal should have managed that game out and got the 3 points. But they didn't. I don't think they were very good. I'll be honest. Hold my hands up. I don't think they were that great against Palace. They got the win, of course. Nottingham Forest. If that game was 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes longer, Forest would have got an equaliser. Elanga had them on skates. So, yeah, it's only 3 games in. But Man United, if Man United come to the Emirates and get a result, and they play somewhat good football, that'll be their first 4 opening games where they haven't actually been that great. And that's fine. Man City do this all the time when they don't play great and still win games, mate. But, Terry, I don't think Arsenal, at the moment, if they carry on with this experimenting, I don't think it's going to work. Just go back to your basics. Go back to what you know. Ben White, Zinchenko, Saliba, Gabriel, the midfield 3 of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. Whoever you're going to put up front. Where's Trossard, by the way? How is Havertz getting in this 11 over Trossard?
Well, Trossard started on Saturday.
Yeah, he did. But that's the first... he didn't start the other 2 games, did he?
No.
So he started one of the 3 games. But Kai Havertz, mate, honestly, £65 million, Chelsea have absolutely pulled their pants down.
Do you not see... A lot of Gooners claim he's become a scapegoat and he wasn't the reason they drew at the weekend and he isn't the reason they've been playing badly. What's your take on him being a scapegoat?
He might not be the reason they're playing badly, but he's not good enough. He's not good enough. Like this. What's Kai Havertz's best position?
I'm not even. I don't really know. I see him as
no one can tell me. Is he a false 9? Does he play through the middle? Is he a cam? Okay, if he's a striker, put him through the middle. If he's a cam, play him cam. But you can't because you've got Odegaard there. Okay, if he's a winger, play him out wide. But you've got Saka and Martinelli there. So what was the point in playing him? And then they say, about squad depth. That's fantastic. But if Odegaard gets an injury, or Saka gets an injury, or Martinelli gets an injury, Kai Havertz isn't producing similar levels. Well, if you look at Man City, right, if Mahrez would have got an injury last night, you bring on Phil Foden. If Haaland's not scoring, you've still got Alvarez who will contribute. I don't see where this Kai Havertz fits in. And at the moment, he's doing all these different things, playing Kiwi or left back, right? Partey right back. Is he doing this just to potentially get Havertz in? So when Havertz scores a goal, he can go, oh, look, I told you, it worked. Because that's what will happen. The minute this guy scores a goal, it'll be up. See, we're back. Look at Havertz. But mate, I genuinely, I don't know what his best position is. When he was at Chelsea, he played up front. His last goal was against Borussia Dortmund, which was back in what? March
time, yeah.
And that was a penalty, and he missed it, and had to retake it. I don't think we say, guy said Mahrez. Mahrez is cold, mate. He plays for my Saudi team, minor league Saudi team. He is an absolute joke, Riyad Mahrez. And if anyone thinks Kai Havertz is a better footballer than Mahrez, you are absolutely tapped.
Nobody thinks that. There is
I'm
not
just saying, if anyone does,
there is not a human being on planet Earth that I look at it from the perspective of, and I want to make sure I say this in the correct way. Do you think there's a lot of people that are detractors of Arteta that say he's being stubborn now? He wants to prove he's right, so he's going to persist until it does go right. But that could cost Arsenal lots of points early in the season. Do you believe that's true, or is this about him trying to work on new systems and he will eventually revert back to what works, but he's trying to implement something new so they have plan Bs? Or is this just stubbornness to make this £65 million player work?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. You can experiment on things, but you've got to make sure it works. And when you're in a title race, every single point matters. Every single point. And if they want to go toe-to-toe with Manchester City again, when he does experiment, he has to get it right. There's no room for error when you're in a title race. I do think Arteta's stubborn. I do. I think it's his way or no way. And the way the club have kind of navigated this PR in around the whole football club is Arteta is the main man at the football club now. It's not Saka or Odegaard, it's Arteta. Now that's fine. But every now and then, plan A doesn't work. So if this is plan A, how many times are you going to keep trialing this, Terry, where you do this experimenting? Do you reckon they do this experiment against Man United?
Well, this game this weekend's interesting because we have a bad record away at the Emirates in recent years.
We haven't got a bad record away from home anyway, and they get to top six, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, last two seasons, our record's been terrible. But away at the Emirates, I'd say now for 4 or 5 years has been horrendous, maybe even longer. And
I think Jose was the last manager who won there.
Yeah, I think Ollie. I want to say Ollie won there in the FA Cup, but that might have been, and that would have been in 2019. So that's 4 years. But in the league, yeah, Jose was probably the last guy to do it. That's off the top of my head. But if they play this team and system and they're as leaky as they have been, they're going to give Man United more of an opportunity to get something out of this game. They really, really are. And it's if they revert back to normal, I can't see Man United beating them as it stands right now. But if they play Kai Havertz, they play this defensive line the way it is, there's a chance Man United could beat them. And I think if Man United pulled off a bit of a shock this weekend and were to beat or even get a point away at Arsenal, and he plays this current system and formation, even a lot of the people that last year were fully on Teta in will turn. Because it's interesting that what I've seen so far I love the social element of football in terms of looking at the psychology more than social, the psychology of it. There is pressure on them to win this year. So suddenly, there are people like Saracen Guna on AFTV, lead judges, who are all for years, get behind Arteta, back him, trust the process. They are fuming 3 games in. So again, I get Lee Gunner, and I get like
haven't been good, mate. That's what it's all down to.
But again, it's when they haven't been good before, will come good. There's a lot of pressure on Arsenal this year, and it's intriguing for me as an outsider to look at it and watch it, because I don't think they've been as bad as people are making out. I don't think they've been brilliant, but I'm sitting here as a rival watching them, and I'm thinking, I think they're going to come good. They've still got 7 points out of 9. I think, as of now, I still think they'll beat us at the weekend. I hate saying that, but it's how I feel. They'll go into the international break with 10 points out of a possible 12. They'll be at the minimum of 2 points at the top of the league. I don't think there's much for them to panic about, but I'm enjoying
the break already. I thought that was a cup game in between. Is that an international break?
Yeah, the cup games this week, and then this weekend international breaks. After this week, there's 2 weeks no football. Well, 1 week no football, I suppose. 1 weekend with no football. That's it.
What this international? What's the point? We've had 4 games. We're already. No one cares about internationals unless it's a tournament.
I hate international breaks because they always come when things are starting to get like there'll be some big results. And you're like, oh wow, that's what a weekend. I've got to wait 2 weeks now for something else. But yeah, it's interesting in terms of what Arsenal need to do to improve. I spoke to a journalist this morning who said that he believes Arsenal are going to go in for Ivan Toney. Of course, that will be a January move. His feeling is that personal terms have already been kind of agreed in principle in terms of conversations have happened between representation, and he's up for joining Arsenal. The kind of money they're going to look to offer him he'd be happy with. They're looking like Ivan Toney could be the next guy they bring in, but it will be in January. we know that's a great signing because I think me and you both rate Toney highly.
Fantastic signing.
Is that too late for Arsenal this season, or should they be thinking more? But having him is better than signing a striker now who's not as good as him in the medium to long term. How do you look at that deal?
Well, as the deal on face value would be fantastic business, but it is too late. You're halfway through the season then. Man City could genuinely, Man City could do the treble again. I genuinely think they will. They're not, Man City they're not even in gear 1 yet, mate. They're not even in gear 1. Like, and Jeremy Doku's gonna be an unbelievable player for them. And so is Núñez will be a good player. But if Arsenal carry on with this experimenting stuff up to January, where I'll be honest, mate, I'd go and get a striker in now. This is where you got to use your scouting network, right? Man City plucked out Julian Alvarez. Brighton do it week in, week out, bringing players in, right? And everyone wants to make a Brighton signing until it comes down to making a Brighton signing. There will be forwards out there that Arsenal can, I don't know any off the top of my head, but this is why you've got to have a scouting network. If they carry on like they do now and bring Toney in January, for me, that's too late. They need a striker right now. They have to. They can't.
So I do get that. I do get that. However, there is a however here. Let's just say, like, for me, Toney's better than Ollie Watkins. So I'm a player you've named already in this show. So I understand having Ollie Watkins for the next 4 months will help because you might get more goals. But Ivan Toney's better in the medium to long term. I think Toney would be a better signing than Vlahovic. I think he'd be a better signing than.
Yeah, but then do you wait the 6 months and then hope that the teams around you?
But I think you do. So an example would be when Liverpool got to a Champions League final the season they bought Van Dijk in that January. If they'd have had Van Dijk for the whole season, they may have been much closer to challenging for that Premier League title. They finished 25 points off, but their form once he came in was on par with City. So the argument is they could have waited. They could have gone and got a different centre-back than Van Dijk. But if he wasn't as good, the next 2, 3, 4 years may not have been as fruitful for them as a football club. I understand everyone wants to win in the here and now, but sometimes, like, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. In the sense of, imagine you go, we want Toney. We think Toney's our number one target, the best option, but we want a striker now. So they go for a Vlahovic. And Vlahovic scores 7 goals all season and then flops the next 2 or 3 years. And then Toney joins Chelsea in January and is banging in goals. It will be I think if he's your number one guy, as this journalist this morning told me he is, I think you wait. Because as much as we all want to win in the season that we're in, I don't think you have to also think football's a chess game. It's not drafts. Sometimes you have to look 2 or 3 moves down the road and go, hang on, but what's better for the club? So I think you have to get the balance right. Look at City. City's a great example of this, and it's a bit of confirmation bias, but imagine when they didn't get Harry Kane, they went and bought a substandard version that did okay, which meant they didn't then get Haaland. They waited. They waited that year. And I know they went on to win the league title that season because they're the best team around. So they've got a little bit more, there's a little bit more leeway in their decision making. But the practice was right. I think you should, if Man United, for instance, were told now, look, you can get Amrabat's in, got him. But you can get Gravenberch now, but there's a guarantee of Frankie de Jong in January. You wait for Frankie de Jong because I think he's superior.
Yeah, you do, but you are right in what you're saying. If he's your number one target, it's better to wait. However, the caveat to that is what happens in the meantime, because in that 4-month period, Man City could not even lose a game and already be 10 points ahead of you, 12 points ahead of you. Arsenal have got, in their fixtures, building up to January, they've got to play, whatever. I reckon they should beat us. They've got practically everyone, haven't they, up until December. I don't know, mate. Do you wait? Yes, but...
Mate, listen, I see it both sides, and your opinion isn't wrong. Managers and clubs live and die by their decisions. And they could decide to wait until January. And because they don't score enough goals, they're 10 points at the top of the league. They get Toney, they start scoring goals, and some will say, see, if we'd have bought a prolific striker in the summer, we'd have won the league. However, if the following season, Toney's killing it, and you win the league, but the guy that everybody said should have come in the summer has a terrible season at the club he's at, you could argue, yeah, but if we'd have bought him, we might have won the league last year, we might not have done. But look what we've done this year. The problem is with football is we're all guilty of this. We assess everything in the here and now with and I did it this morning when I saw the news about Amrabat. Well, we're finished. Man United are not finished if we don't sign Amrabat. We might not do as well this season, but the idea that the club is done forever because we miss out on someone is wrong. But that's how we look at things, because we all want to win in the here and now. I personally think in this scenario with Arsenal, you wait for Ivan Toney, but you've got to get him. You can't go, we're waiting, and then he joins United or Tottenham or somebody else. But I got a feeling he wants Arsenal, especially after what he said on that podcast the other day. Like, I think he looks at Arsenal, and Arsenal they've got their swag. Listen, I know Lee Gunner, I hope you're not listening because he'll get angry. They've got their swagger back. There's something about the identity of the club at the minute, the fashion side of them, which I think Toney fits. They look like a match made in heaven. The swagger, there's an arrogance or a confidence, and I think a good arrogance that he has, that Arsenal have right now. The branding, the style of football, the goals, and I think the whole match is perfection. I really do think the match is there. I hate saying that because, again, I'd like Toney at Man United, even though we're signing Rasmus, and I think he's excellent. I think there's a way you can make them both work together. I think Toney's amazing, but I see him as an Arsenal player. I really think he'll go there.
He's going to go one or two clubs. It's either going to be Arsenal or Liverpool. And I think you're right. I think he'll stay. I think I think he'll be at Liverpool. Yeah. I think if he doesn't go Arsenal, I think he'll go Liverpool.
Where's he going to play at Liverpool? They've got Darwin and Gakpo.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just see him in that Liverpool shirt, mate. He's a Liverpool fan. Loves the football club. Did you watch his documentary with what is his name? Not documentary, his podcast, when he spoke about Arsenal and Liverpool in that. But, mate, him in a Spurs shirt, it's never going to happen, but him in a Spurs shirt of Maddison, mate, and Bissouma. But yeah, I think the likelihood is he'll probably will be at Arsenal, but Liverpool only want Buemo. See, you think Brentford could get 150 million for both of them? Easy.
Yeah, they could. Listen, I mean, that Brentford team could get pulled apart in the next year.
And is it Nordegaard as well, whatever his name is?
Nordegaard looks good. Like, Man United might be going in for Rico. Listen, the more I'm sitting there thinking about it, the more I'm getting excited about the idea of Rico Henry. I hope that story is true. That would be a top signing, but
yeah, man, I can see him at Arsenal. It's gonna be awful, mate. It's gonna be awful. If they get Ivan Toney and he stops doing this experimenting stuff, I think they'll win the league. If he goes back to the basics,
yeah.
Like if they had Ivan Toney right now, back to basics, none of this Kai Havertz, put him on the bench, goes back to basics, and they've got Ivan Toney, I think they'll win the league. Because they've got a vocal point.
I hear what you're saying. We've got Kid here. Kid here, as a Chelsea fan, says, I hear you about goals being a problem, but what guaranteed goal scorer is available right now?
Ollie Watkins, mate. Ollie Watkins. I'll take him at Spurs in a heartbeat.
In fairness, I got pelters last summer when I said Spurs should have signed Ollie Watkins and not Richarlison.
Who pays 60 million quid for... Oh, but he's Brazil's number 9. Who cares, mate? I'd score goals if you put him next to Vinny Jr. and Neymar. Put him in a Tottenham shirt and we're counter-attacking Sheffield United away. Ollie Watkins in a Chelsea shirt, mate. Everyone's going to go, oh, but he's not a Chelsea player. So what? He scored more goals than any player you had last year.
Luke Skywalker here says, big up Terry and Uncle Fester. No one's called you Uncle Fester yet today. I like it. Viewers, make sure like buttons are hit, please. Let's get past 1,000 while we're live, please, my people. This here says, literally doing the Haaland thing with Jackson. Are you saying this is like Henry's Rory Jennings moment, saying that Jackson's not going to score in the Premier? You comparing Jackson to Haaland?
That Rory Jennings moment was absolutely ridiculous, right? But Haaland's got a track record. I mean, he scored, 70 goals in 70 games for Dortmund? I don't know much about... What was Jackson at Villarreal before?
Let's have a little look at this. I'm actually going to delve into this super chat a bit more detail. So I'm going to go on Haaland's page here. So Haaland, let's just look at Haaland's career statistics by club here. I love breaking this stuff down. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong link. Sorry, my people. Let's break this down here. So stats by club. So before he joined Man City, he played 89 games for Dortmund, 80, and he had 86 goals and 23 assists for Mold, and then for RB Strasbourg, sorry, he played 27 games and scored 29 goals and got 7 assists. Now, Nico Jackson, we'll be fair and we're gonna look at his. We'll look at his. Yeah, why can't I find it? I've spelt his name wrong. That's why I can't find him. Let's put Jackson's in here. Nicholas Jackson. It's going to be stats by club. So like before he joined Chelsea, he played 47 games for Villarreal and scored 13 goals and 6 assists, and played 17 games for SD Maridas and scored 1 goal and 1 assist in 17 games. So yeah, they're not really comparable.
It's closer to Richarlison, Jackson. Then he is Haaland, mate. Let's be honest. It's madness.
This here says last season Arsenal are predictable, changes things. People moan because it's taking time to settle and want things to go back to being predictable.
But when it's predictable, it works. They were so predictable. Like Man City are predictable the way they play. Every team's predictable. But when Riyad Mahrez gets on the ball, every single person and his dog knows he's going to cut it on his left. But it works every time. Same with Robin, same with Messi, same with Salah, same with Kulusevski. Well, just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's not going to work. But it's how do you stop that? You know? I generally think if they go back to basics, what Arteta knows and what he's seen work to get them into a title race, when you start doing this flipping Banduli experiment stuff, it don't go to plan, mate. And then by then you're already 15 points behind Man City. Plus Arsenal got champs as well. So, yeah.
If Man United do get Gravenberch and Amrabat, what does that do for Mainu's first team progress? It doesn't stop it. Mainu's good enough. And if Mainu keeps progressing, and when he gets his chances, he plays well, he'll play. If he's not good enough, if he's not better than them, then he ain't good enough for Man United. He doesn't show the promise to be better than them. He isn't good enough. So no one gets in life. Nobody stops your development and growth, generally speaking. I'm not talking for everybody in every part of the world, in every scenario, but I'm talking generally speaking, in this type of environment, if you're good enough, you're going to make it. You know, when I worked in one of the biggest banks in the country, nothing stopped my progression but me. So maybe in the department you're in, you can't go any higher because the job above you is taken and the person's doing a great job. Well, you can move departments, you can move areas, you can move sectors. There's things you can do. Generally speaking, it's in your hands. When you're already in a place of privilege, like being a professional footballer, it's on Mainu. So yeah, I'm not worried about it at all. Plus, these deals, I think we only signed these two if Toney and what's his name, McTominay leave, and that means 3 midfielders have gone. Therefore, there's space anyway. So yeah, I'm not worried about it at all, Charlie. I'm really not. Arteta's new formation needs a proper number 9. Yeah, I get you. Look, I think the experiment's over. I think he'll go back to a more familiar Arsenal team against Manchester United. I really do.
I agree, mate. I agree. And if that proper number 9 is Ivan Toney. On Ten Hag, if you lose to Arsenal, what do you think the reaction will be? Because that'll be, you've lost 2 of your first 4 games. You lost away to home against 2 of the top 6. What do you think the reaction in the fan base will be?
Depends on the fan, depends on the individual, and it depends on more so on the manner of the defeat if it was to happen. If we get battered, the midfield gets run through, they create an abundance of chances, they beat us 3 or 4-0, there'll be a meltdown. There'll be elements within the meltdown that are correct. You know, we haven't improved enough over the summer. If it's a narrow defeat, 2-1, but a close game, I think there'll be more. Okay, I think you've got to look at the performance. The performance is really key because that's where sustainability comes from. So, yeah, there will be big questions. I think for me, the biggest disappointment is that we'd have had 2 games against the so-called top 9 teams of last year and had lost both. And I'm looking for that. That's the element. That's the one record that if that improves this year and the others maintain, and so far the home record has maintained itself. We've won both those games. We need to improve our record away against the top 9 teams. That is what puts us into a title race. So I think the frustration will be we're 2 tests away from home against top teams. If we lost them both badly, then we're not. Then you're not wrong for thinking, well, we're not going to be in a title race this year, and I'm disappointed because I want us to, at the very least, close that gap this season on the teams at the top. However, if there's a win, if we go and beat them, suddenly then you're 3 points ahead of where we were at that stage last year. You've won a game away from home at a top team that you didn't do last year, and I think confidence will ensue. So it's a real big gateway game for Man United at the weekend, as much as it is Arsenal. Again, I think if Arsenal win and win well, I think their fans will relax, go into international break, cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah, I agree.
They get points against Man United, suddenly, oh my God, are we really not going to be in this title race this year? Because they would suddenly then be on 7 points after 4 games, which is 5 points worse than last year. Maybe City are on 12 points. Man United sitting there ahead of them on 9 points.
Don't forget Big Ange. Big Ange,
yeah, you guys be on 10 points. Yeah, listen, so it's such an interesting game. I don't think any fan base should be throwing their baby out with the bathwater or win, lose, or draw this weekend. Or not over-celebrating, but thinking, we're definitely winning the league or we're definitely challenging. I think it isn't the time for conclusions, but I will understand the criticisms and or the excitement and boosting confidence should they win. So yeah, it's a real interesting one for me. I'm very excited and very nervous. I hate going away against the big boys this early in the season. I really, really do. However, it's good to go. I like going away first. I'd rather have, out of all the games against the better teams, I'd rather have 4 or 5 of them away in the first half of the season and to know in the second half of the season, you've got a lot of them at home where you're stronger. Preferably, but that's just me. Scott McTominay to Bayern Munich. Look, I'm only reading out the rumors. That ain't on me. This super chat here says, I'll clarify since you missed my point. Everyone is comparing striker stats with Haaland. Jackson broke out in January. He is a year from being top.
Is he? I mean, how old's Jackson?
Don't know. I'm going to say 21. Let me check here. 22. 22. He turns 23.
Yeah,
he turns, just turned 22.
Another year development. He'll be a better player, but I don't know. Chelsea notoriously, right, don't sign good number 9s. Other than Drogba and Diego Costa, in the last 20 years, I can't think of anyone else they've signed who has really done bits. Morata, Torres, Etu, Falcao. Who else have they had? Demba Ba. Who else have they had? Who's really hit the ground running?
They haven't done well. To the super chat, Zach. Look, I get where you're coming from. Haaland's numbers are not the benchmark. 20 league goals a season is still like top class. But to put that into perspective, Michael Owen never scored 20 league goals ever. Yeah.
When he won the Ballon d'Or, he scored 16 goals that season.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I look at Andy Cole. I'm going to get Andy Cole's numbers up for a minute. I'm going to get like Thierry Henry did. We know he did. Harry Kane has done it as an example. Just viewers in the comments, name us some top Premier League strikers from over the years, please. We'll throw Drogba's name in there. Who else are we going to throw into that as a top Premier League striker?
Van Persie.
Rooney. We'll throw Van Persie's a good example to throw into that mix as
Luis
well.
Suarez.
He didn't have enough seasons here. Ruud van Nistelrooy is a great one. But we just have some good names. I'm looking for one more name. Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer is a great example, out there, right? So this is Aguero is a brilliant example as well. But again, you're talking legends here. So Andy Cole looked at as one of the best Premier League strikers. I'm just looking at looking at numbers only in this, right? So in terms of 20 league, he scored 34 league goals in 94. And that's it. He never scored after that more than 19 league goals ever again. Okay. Yeah. Didier Drogba, again, Premier League legend. He scored 20 league goals in 07 and 29 in 2010. So he did it twice in his whole career in all leagues, by the way. He did it twice. Wayne Rooney, he wasn't now an out number 9, but he was a top forward, one of the highest goal scorers in Premier League history. He got over 20 goals twice in his entire...
How many times has Kane done it?
I'll go and check Kane's in a minute. Ruud van Nistelrooy, again, another legend here. He scored... Again, his numbers are a little different. So he did it in the Premier League. He did it 4 times in the 5 seasons he was here.
Disgusting.
He did it 4 times. So again, that is just level. Alan Shearer, look how many years the man had at the top in the Premier League, right? Alan Shearer did it. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in his 19-year career. 19 years, did it 7. So Alan Shearer, the levels are very, very high indeed. So this is what I'm saying about 2020. Like, you're looking at legends of the game here. Some have done it 3 or 4 times. The benchmarks there, like Aguero's is brilliant as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times he did it in the Premier League, and he did it once in the Liga as well. But this is the thing, like, so 20 goals is that standard. Tevez is a great player to look at this at, because Carlos Tevez is looked at as a world-class player, top Premier League player. Let's look at his numbers here. And again, this is all off the top of my head. I don't know. He did it once for Man City. He did it once for Juve. That's it. So, like, again, only twice. So 20 goals a season, people say, is the benchmark. What I'm saying is this. Haaland getting 40 odd, that's not the benchmark. That's just, that isn't the barometer. So, yeah, you are right in that regard. Like, this is what's crazy when barometers get broken. You could have Rasmus Hojlund and Jackson score 18 Premier League goals this season, and people say, that's meaty, bruv. And it's like, is it really? Sorry, Carlos Tevez, by the way, he did it twice for Man City. He got 23 and 20. I apologize, I got that wrong. Dwight York, someone said Dwight York as an example. Dwight York, would you say Premier League legend?
Yeah.
Premier League legend of a striker. Okay. Let's go and look at his statistics. Once he got 20 goals, right? In his best seasons at Aston Villa, got 17. And then at Man United, first season 18, second season 20. It's the point I'm making. In that first season where he scored 18, we won a treble, right? And he's a legend at our club. So following year, 20 goals, right? So if Hojlund and Jackson score 15 to 18 goals at 20 odd years of age in their first season, it's a brilliant season. This notion that if you don't get 25, 30, you're crap is mental.
Yeah.
Like, yes, with Agueros and Ruuds and Shearers and Kanes and these guys, there's about 5 or 6 of them who consistently got over 20 league goals. But that's 5 or 6 strikers, right? Out of the hundreds that have played in the Premier League. So the benchmark of greatness, yes, is getting 20 plus league goals 4, 5, 6 times in your career. You've got to have that to be in that conversation with the greatest strikers, or consistent seasons and lots of trophies and big goals. You've got to be in that mix. But year one, if someone like Hojlund scores 15 goals in his first season in the Prem at his age, that's a very good season.
What about, how many seasons did Thierry Henry do it?
Let's have a little look at Thierry Henry.
I think he did it 4 or 5.
Henry, I feel like he did it every season in his first stint at Arsenal. Not like when he came back on loan or anything like that. I swear he did, you know. No, okay, first 2 seasons he got 7. This is a point. Henry, first season, 17 goals. Second season, 17 goals. And then 24, 24, 30, 25, 27. Last season at the club, the last season at the club, he only played 17 games, scored 10 goals. Like, it's crazy. Like, so that again, and Henry's looked at as the Premier League's GOAT. So if the Premier League's GOAT took 2 seasons to score 20 league goals, yes, you have to look at the overall performance from Hojlund, the overall performance from Jackson. I'm not saying you don't. But if their man bagged 15 to 18 goals in their first season... How many
times has Salah done it?
Oh, Mohamed Salah. It's a great one. It's a great one to look at. And again, we're just naming greats here. We are not even naming good. We're naming greats. If you start going down the line of good strikers, they didn't do it. Mohamed Salah. Wow. First season... First season in the Prem at Chelsea, 2 goals. Second season, he played 3 games, no goals. At Liverpool, 32, 22, 19, 22, 23, 19.
So it's absolutely ridiculous numbers.
It is. But as again, though, as you say, imagine a 20-year-old getting 15 to 18 league goals in their first season. As long as they're playing well around it, that's a brilliant return. Haaland's numbers are just alien-like, but he's broke the barometer, is what I'm saying. It's crazy, actually. When you break it down and look at it, and that's why I think people need to be very mindful when it's judging Jackson, judging Rasmus Hojlund, judging these young strikers straight away. Because You have to look at everything. And again, if they're doing nothing else other than scoring goals and they only score 10, say it's been a bad year. But overall, Robbie Fowler did it quite a lot. Do you know who's a great example here? Jermaine Defoe.
Player.
No one would say the Premier League great, but you would say very good player. Let's go and look at his goal scoring return in Premier League football. 10, 8, 11, 7, 13, 9, 10, 4, 8, 7, 3. He got 18 goals in 2010 for Tottenham, and then 4, 11, 11, 11, 1. And then back in the Premier League for Sunderland, strangely, later in his career, 15 and 15. So look, he never scored 20 league goals in a season, Jermaine Defoe, but you wouldn't look at him as a flop of a striker.
No.
He's
what about Robbie Keane?
Who? Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane. Let's have a look at Robbie Keane.
I don't think he did it either.
Again, Robbie Keane's looked at as I wouldn't say a Premier League legend. So Robbie Keane.
But he's a good striker.
His first Premier League season, 12, then 9, then 3, then 14, then 14, 11, 16, 11, 15, and then 10, 6.
Well, Sheringham must have done 20.
Teddy Sheringham won the Golden Boot at least once, as far as I'm aware. Let's have a look at Teddy Sheringham. I think he had his best goal scoring seasons at Man United, to be fair. But I swear he only got more than 20 league goals once. Well, again, in the first division. So, the second division one don't count. So, first divisions here. 13 at Nottingham Forest. And then his first season in the Prem with you lot, 21. Then 13, then 18, then 16, then 7. And then at Man United, so 9, 2, 5, and then 15. And then back at Tottenham, 10 and 12. And then 9 for Portsmouth in the Premier League, and 6 and 2 for West Ham. But that was only 40. But yeah, it's about Andy. We already did Andy Cole. Andy Cole did it once in his whole career. Ian Wright. Let's have a little look at Wrighty. But you know what's mad? When you think of 20 goal a season strikers, people would say Wright. They would say, oh, those guys consistently did it. But did they? They didn't. Ian Wright might have done though. Let's have a look here. Right, first division and Premier League. So 8, 15, 5, first 24 at Arsenal first season, 15, 23, 18, 15, 23, 10, and then didn't do it again. So yeah, Wright, he did it 3 times. So again, I'm not digging anyone out here, but Ian Wright, Premier League great, okay, English football great, in a career that spanned from 1986 to 2000, so 15 years, he did it 3 times. So again, when people are saying, if my striker don't score 20 league goals every single season, he's a scrub, what are you talking about? I know it isn't just about the goals, but the barometer's been broken. It has been. Boys, look, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in a little bit longer than we thought we were going to go, but I enjoyed that at the end there, looking at that. And I'm not saying, by the way, you shouldn't expect lots of goals, but this notion that you're mid, if you're not scoring 20 plus league goals every year, there's literally, it hasn't been done that often in the grand scheme of things. And if your new striker is getting 15 to 20 league goals in their first season as a kid, be excited. Be excited. Listen, people, until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.